Okay, let's be honest. Everyone who's watching this knows exactly what I'm talking about. Wings of Fire, Book 1, the Skywing Arena. So Dragon asks, which is the worst way to punish a Seawing? Among the suggestions, one of them is, drowning him. For context, again, I am pretty sure everyone who's watching this knows Wings of Fire. But for brief context, Seawings are marine dragons, which means they can breathe underwater. Now, this is genuinely just put as on a joke, but I'm bored, so I'm gonna explain in a painful amount of detail how you can actually drown a seaweed or a, plenty of marine animals. If you're that kind of person, I will not be held accountable if you try and fucking drown a fish. I'm gonna explain it. Okay, for the uninitiated, most marine creatures that spend full time underwater, not counting whales, dolphins, etc., those have lungs. They have gills. Some fish, I believe, do have lungs and gills. Let me actually Google search that. I need to update my knowledge. There we go. Thank you, Google. Yep, there's a fish that has both a lung and gills. That's actually pretty sick, anyway. So, some fish have lungs and gills, but most fish either pick one or the other. For example, betta fish have a lung, so they have to like go up to the water and suck up the air and make the oxygen and carbon dioxide trade. Now, again, Wings of Fire is not exactly very concerned with anatomy. It's a book about dragons that can breathe fire and manipulate objects with their minds. So, yeah, I'm not very concerned with anatomy. But for the sake of this video, let's assume that, it works on some loose real world logic and that sea wings have lungs to breathe outside of water and gills to breathe in water. Let's also assume that those systems work separately because lungs are generally terrible at taking oxygen from HO2. Anyways, so gills work because they're very, very blood vessel filled slabs of meat that can do oxygen trades with water. So the fish is swimming. You may notice like sharks do this a lot. They keep their mouth kind of open because the water comes in through their mouth, passes through their, the equivalent of their throat, passes through their gills, and when it passes, the trade happens. Oxygen goes into the bloodstream, carbon dioxide comes out of the bloodstream. That's basically how it works, and they do need to keep the water circulating, which is why gills are kind of open like little vents, so the water can just freely move through it. Pretty smart stuff. Nature is smart when it comes. However, fish die on land, but it's not because the reason they believe. They die because gills are generally not very sturdy, as you can imagine. They're kind of flexible little slabs of meat because the water needs to flow through them. So if you have like something that's stiff, when the creature like turns and wobbles around, it's gonna get in the way of that. It needs to be open. It needs to be dilated. So it's flexible. It's very unsturdy. Not very very unsturdy. I'm gonna put it that way. You get what I mean. It's floppy. Now they die on land because when you take them out of the water, they collapse on themselves. It's like having a bunch of ham, fall on itself. So what happens is the gills kind of get on the way on one another, and they cannot interact with the oxygen, and because of that, they suffocate. Or they fucking drown on their own gills because they cannot do oxygen trade. So they suffocate. It's like if I coated your lung in meat, like if I made you fucking breathe ham until your pulmonary fuck, I don't know, your lungs in general were just covered and just could not do oxygen trade. That's why they die. Fish also debate themselves like that, the little floppy, not because they exactly want to get into the water again, because they are fish, they have no concept, they don't know what air is. They just push them out of the water. They don't know they have to get back in. They just fucking know they're dying, and they flop like that because they're trying to get their gills to open. So like they flop in the hopes that the gills will kind of open again and they'll be all fine. No, it usually doesn't work out, but you get the point. Now, to drown a seawing, how do we do that? They have lungs. That's a key part. Because if we just, close their gills, they're just gonna suffocate and die of oxygen deprivation because their blood pH is gonna skyrocket and they're gonna fucking, run out of oxygen to do basic cellular processes. We want them to drown, but they have lungs. That's important. See, lungs suck at getting oxygen out of the water. Why is that? Is because after a certain point, water starts just getting into your bloodstream. That fucking fucks up your balance. Brief biology detour in case you're not, a biology nerd like me. Your blood has a very specific balance of pH, which is like the acidic. I'm not. Your blood's not acid, okay? But it has a very specific acid to base balance. Water fucks that up, and so does carbon dioxide, which is why carbon dioxide in your bloodstream fucking kills you, and water in your bloodstream also kills you. Do not inject yourself with water. Anyways, so when you drown, basically drowning means one, no oxygen, which means you're gonna die of oxygen deprivation, but also means lots of water in your bloodstream, which is very, very, unpleasant. It messes up your blood pH, it gets in the way of your basic cellular processes, and if I'm not mistaken, it also can kinda fucking destroy your blood cells. So that's drowning. We're gonna define drowning as, water in lung, no breathe. So to drown a seaweed, first we need, to trap it underwater. That by itself won't kill it, but it's the first step. If they cannot get out of water, that's one step close to drowning. Anyways, with that on the way, let's, give ourselves some freedom and say that we have some chains that they cannot break out of and they do not have any freedom to move. Like, they're basically stuck in place as much as we can without making this extremely unfair. So what we do next? We close their gills. It can be with flex tape, it can be with glue. We just need to restrict their gills to make sure the water cannot pass through. When restrict the gills, we are not allowing oxygen trace to happen in the gills. Like with fish outside of water, they cannot take the water, they cannot take the gills off, they cannot open them, so they just fucking run out of oxygen. That's what's happening here now. Let's say we just, by some arbitrary means, we just close the gills. No gills, no way of breathing. They're gonna fucking start to get their blood pH elevated because carbon dioxide is gonna outweigh oxygen. And now the brain is gonna notice this. Our brain is smart. It notices when we're running out of oxygen in your bloodstream. That's why if you try to hold your breath, your brain will go, hey, breathe now. Anyways, with that happening, it will probably happen at a slower rate considering dragons have a lot of blood, but it's gonna happen eventually. And when they start to happen, the blood's gonna send out an alarm that's like, hey, breathe. And the dragon is probably be like, hey, I fucking can't. This maniac is, killing me for content. He fucking stopped me from getting oxygen into my blood. And the brain's gonna go, hey, I don't fucking care. Breathe, motherfucker, breathe. So the next reaction, likely, if we again, we're assuming this goes by some real world logic, like humans, when you cannot, you don't have enough oxygen left, you open your mouth and you suck up. You suck the air, like, at full speed to try and get it. If you're underwater, that's a problem because, that's how you get water in your lungs. And that's what's gonna happen. Likely when, the brain realizes, hey, we're not getting enough oxygen. If, realize that, it's gonna say, hey, breathe. The dragon's not gonna say, hey, no, I'm gonna fucking die anyways. It's not gonna work. The dragon's gonna, try and suck in oxygen. It's gonna get water in his lungs. And he's not gonna get any oxygen out of that. This process will hints and repeat, hints and repeat, hints and repeat, until the lungs are full of water, the blood's out of oxygen, and, the blood pH is all messed up. In conclusion, we fucking drowned an aquatic dragon using science. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not fit to be near any marine animals. Please do not try this, and take this with a grain of salt. Bye.